The rain hammered against the penthouse windows like 1,000 unspoken accusations, each drop a reminder that secrets had weights of their own. Ellie Harrington stood there, her fingers trembling as she clutched the crumpled letter. The ink from Jordan's handwriting already smearing under her thumb, words that could unravel everything her family had built over generations. In that moment, as thunder cracked the New York sky, she realized love was not a choice but a thief, stealing her breath and threatening to drag the Harrington empire into the abyss with her. Ellie had always known the weight of eyes on her. From the boardrooms of Harrington Global in Midtown Manhattan, where glass walls reflected the ceaseless pulse of the city, to the society pages that dissected her every smile at galas, she was the polished facade of a dynasty built on steel nerves and sharper deals. 28. With her auburn hair swept into a chignon that screamed control, she navigated the world like a chess queen, calculated, untouchable. But tonight, as the storm raged over the Hudson, that facade cracked wide open. The letter burned in her hand. Jordan's scrawl, "I can't keep pretending this isn't real. Meet me at the bridge, or we end it here." The Brooklyn Bridge, their stolen sanctuary amid the chaos of the boroughs, where graffiti-tagged beams whispered promises the Upper East Side could never hear. Ellie's heart slammed against her ribs, a rhythm as erratic as the lightning forking outside. She should burn the note, call her brother Marcus to handle the fallout like he always did. Harringtons didn't falter, they fortified. But Jordan's voice echoed in her mind, that low, husky timbre from their first meeting at a forgotten art exhibit in Williamsburg, where Ellie's escape from a fundraising dinner led her straight into a pair of dark, defiant eyes. It was 6 months ago, that humid August evening when the city smelled of hot asphalt and possibility. Ellie had slipped away from the tuxedoed crowd at the Met, her heels clicking against the pavement as she wandered into the underbelly of Brooklyn. The gallery was a hole in the wall, walls dripping with vibrant murals of women entwined in shadows, bold, unapologetic strokes that made Ellie's breath catch. And there was Jordan Reyes, 26, with sun-kissed olive skin and cropped black hair that framed a face carved from quiet rebellion, leaning against a canvas as if she owned the rebellion it depicted. "You look like you need to break something," Jordan had said, her voice cutting through the murmur of pretentious chatter. A smirk playing on full lips painted the color of bruised plums. Ellie, in her emerald gown that cost more than most people's rent, felt exposed, seen in a way that had nothing to do with her last name. They talked for hours about the hypocrisy of art auctions funding the very corporations that gentrified neighborhoods like Jordan's childhood in the Bronx, about the invisible chains of expectation that bound them both. Ellie confessed her dread of the upcoming merger with the Langford Group, a union that would seal her fate in a loveless alliance with their golden boy heir. Jordan laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a storm, and pressed a paint-smeared thumb to Ellie's wrist. "Then don't sign. Burn the papers." Live, that night, under the gallery's dim halos, their fingers brushed, and the world tilted. A kiss in the alley behind, tasting of cheap wine and desperation, ignited something Ellie had buried deep since her college days at Yale, when a fumbling affair with a roommate ended in tears and a hasty transfer. But Jordan was different, fierce, unyielding, her touch a map to places Ellie had only dreamed of exploring. They met in secret after that, stolen weekends in a cramped loft in Bushwick, where Jordan's canvases leaned against exposed brick, and nights tangled in sheets that smelled of turpentine and jasmine. Jordan's hands, callous from brushes and the occasional bartending shift to pay rent, traced Ellie's skin like she was sketching a masterpiece, coaxing confessions from her that no therapist's couch ever had. "I love you," Jordan whispered one dawn, as sunlight slanted through the blinds, painting Ellie's bare shoulder in gold. Ellie froze, the words a blade and a bomb. Love was a luxury Harringtons couldn't afford. It was leverage. A transaction. Yet in Jordan's arms, with the distant wail of sirens underscoring their breaths, Ellie let herself believe it possible. They built a fragile world there. Lazy mornings over black coffee and bagels from the corner deli. Evenings walking the East River Promenade. Hands brushing but never holding in public. Jordan spoke of her dreams. A solo show that would force the elite to confront the faces they erased from their skyline. Ellie promised to make it happen. Her Rolodex a weapon she wielded for the first time, not for profit, but for passion. But secrets festered. Marcus, ever the sentinel at 32, with his Ivy League polish and eyes like their father's cold granite, had started asking questions. "Who's got you smiling like that?" "El? Some tech bro from Silicon Valley." He'd laugh it off over steak at Delmonico's, but Ellie saw the calculation beneath. The way he inventoried her distractions like potential liabilities. Their father, Reginald Harrington, the titan who built the empire from a single Wall Street bet into a conglomerate spanning finance, real estate, and media, tolerated no fractures. 70. With silver hair and a voice that commanded rooms, he viewed Ellie as his legacy's jewel, poised to marry into the Langfords, securing alliances that would dwarf competitors. "You're the face, Eleanor," he'd say, his hand heavy on her shoulder during quarterly briefings. "Don't let shadows dull your shine." The merger loomed like a guillotine, set for spring, with engagement whispers already circulating in the Times. Ellie had nodded through the dinners, her smiles practiced, but inside, Jordan's letters, slipped into her Birkin like contraband, were lifelines. Until tonight. The storm wasn't just weather, it was omen. As thunder rolled again, Ellie shoved the note into her pocket, grabbed her trench coat from the marble foyer, and slipped past the doorman who knew better than to question the heir's midnight whims. The elevator descent felt eternal, the mirrored walls mocking her with reflections of disheveled hair and haunted eyes. Out on the street, the wind whipped rain into her face, blurring the neon glow of Fifth Avenue. She hailed a cab, the driver grunting about the bridge traffic, but Ellie barely heard. Her mind replayed Jordan's face from their last fight 2 nights ago, over a careless text Ellie sent from a family yacht party, nearly caught by a cousin's prying eyes. "This isn't living, Ellie. It's surviving." Jordan's words had sliced deep, her dark eyes flashing with hurt that mirrored Ellie's own buried fears. The cab lurched over the bridge, the East River churning below like her thoughts, turbulent, endless. Ellie paid with a wad of cash, no receipt, and stepped into the downpour. The pedestrian path was deserted, lamps casting halos on wet stone. There, midway across, leaning against the railing with wind-tossed hair and a leather jacket slick with rain, was Jordan. Her silhouette against the stormlit skyline was a siren's call, pulling Ellie forward despite the dread coiling in her gut. "You came," Jordan said, voice barely audible over the gale. But her eyes, those endless, accusing pools, said everything else. Ellie closed the distance, the space between them charged like the air before lightning. She reached out, fingers grazing Jordan's cheek, cold and real. "I had to. You're Everything. Jordan's laugh was bitter, laced with tears the rain couldn't hide. Everything? Or just the secret that could tank your stocks? I saw the headlines today. Harrington-Langford Union, the power couple of the century. You think I don't know what that means? She pulled away, arms wrapping around herself as if to hold in the fragments. Ellie felt the chasm widen, the empire's shadow encroaching even here, on this span of steel and history. I don't want it, Ellie whispered, stepping closer, her voice breaking. The merger. The life their chains. Jordan. With you. I breathe. She cupped Jordan's face, thumbs brushing away rivulets. And in that touch, the world narrowed to the salt of rain and the heat of skin. Their lips met, fierce and forgiving, a collision that drowned the storm. Jordan's hands fisted in Ellie's coat, pulling her in. And for a heartbeat, the bridge held them suspended, two women defying gravity. Gravity being the weight of legacies and lies. But as they broke apart, gasping, Jordan's expression hardened. Then prove it. Leave with me tonight. No more hiding. Ellie's heart stuttered. Leave? The word was a fantasy, whispered in the dark of Jordan's bed. But spoken aloud, it was revolution. The Harrington Tower loomed across the water, a monolith of her blood and bondage. She opened her mouth, the yes forming on her tongue. But her phone buzzed. Marcus, no doubt, tracking her like a wayward asset. I need time, she said finally, the words ash in her throat. Jordan's flinch was a dagger. Time is what kills us. Ellie. It's what makes love a crime. She turned, striding back toward Brooklyn, leaving Ellie alone with the wind's howl and the echo of what might have been. Back in the penthouse, soaked and shivering, Ellie stripped off her clothes, the mirror showing a woman marked by red welts from Jordan's grip. Badges of a war she wasn't sure she could win. She poured a scotch, neat, and sank onto the velvet chaise, the city lights mocking her isolation. Sleep came fitful, dreams tangled with boardroom battles and Jordan's laughter fading into silence. Morning broke gray and unrelenting. Ellie dressed in armor, crisp white blouse, pencil skirt, pearls that felt like nooses, and descended to the family offices. Reginald was there, pacing before floor-to-ceiling windows, his face a storm front. Eleanor. The Langfords are pushing for an earlier announcement. Victor's eager. Victor Langford. Chitty. Blonde and bland. The human equivalent of a non-disclosure agreement. Ellie nodded, her smile a mask. But inside, Jordan's challenge burned. The day blurred. Meetings on acquisition targets. Lunches with analysts dissecting market whispers. By afternoon, Marcus cornered her in the executive lounge, his cologne sharp as his gaze. You look wrecked, sis. Rough night. Casual. But probing. Ellie deflected with a joke about deadlines, but his eyes lingered, suspicious. That evening, at a cocktail hour for donors to the Harrington Foundation, irony thick as the champagne, Ellie scanned the room for escape. The Langfords were there. Victor droning about synergies, his hand brushing her arm in ownership. She excused herself to the terrace, the skyline a glittering cage, and lit a rare cigarette, the smoke curling like unanswered prayers. Her phone vibrated. A photo from Jordan, a sketch of the two of them on the bridge, faces fierce and fused. Caption your move. Ellie's chest tightened. This was the precipice. Step back into the dynasty's embrace, or leap into the unknown. As laughter echoed from inside, she deleted the image, but not the ache. The hook was set, the line pulled taut. She was falling, and the empire trembled with her. The weeks that followed were a masterclass in compartmentalization, the kind Ellie had perfected since boarding school, where vulnerability was a weakness to be excised like a tumor. By day, she was Eleanor Harrington, VP of Strategic Alliances, her presentation slicing through skepticism like a scalpel, securing the Langford deal with concessions that padded the family's coffers. Victor's texts arrived like clockwork, dinners at Per Se, weekends at the Hamptons, and she replied with emojis and evasive charm. Her laughter at his anecdotes a performance worthy of Broadway. But nights belonged to Jordan, or what fragments of them she could steal. Their reunions were feverish, conducted in the shadows of Brooklyn's fringes. A motel in Red Hook one Tuesday, the room smelling of stale sheets and salt air from the nearby docks, where Jordan pushed her against the peeling wallpaper, their bodies a language of urgency and apology. "Tell me you hate it," Jordan murmured against her neck, fingers mapping the curve of Ellie's hip. "The suits, the schmoozing, tell me it's poison," Ellie gasped, arching into the touch, words tumbling out in a rush, the suffocation of Reginald's expectations, the way Marcus's loyalty felt like surveillance. Jordan listened, her dark eyes absorbing it all, then kissed her silent, as if touch could rewrite the script. Yet doubt crept in like fog off the river. Jordan's loft, once a haven, now hummed with unspoken tensions. Canvases piled higher, sketches of fractured skylines and shadowed figures that Ellie recognized as metaphors for them. One evening, over takeout from a hole-in-the-wall taqueria, Jordan's favorite, with carnitas that burned just right, conversation turned to futures. "My show's in 2 months," Jordan said, pushing rice around her plate, her voice edged with hope and steel. "The gallery in Chelsea. It's my shot, Ellie. But the critics, they'll dig. And if they find us," she trailed off, fork clattering. Ellie reached across the scarred wooden table, lacing their fingers. "They won't. I'll handle it, anonymous donation. Whatever it takes." But Jordan pulled back, her expression a storm cloud. "Handle it? Like a business deal? I'm not your portfolio. Ellie. I need you all in. Or not at all." The air thickened, charged with the residue of too many half-promises. They made love that night anyway. Slow and searching, Jordan's lips tracing the Harrington crest tattooed discreetly on Ellie's inner wrist, a family mark she'd gotten at 18, now a brand she wanted to burn away. In the afterglow, tangled in limbs and lamplight, Ellie whispered, "I'm trying." I'm trying." Crossed the river. The dynasty churned on. Reginald summoned her to the family estate in Greenwich one crisp autumn Saturday. The drive up A95 a gauntlet of golden leaves and regret. The house was a monument to old money, ivy-clad stone. Libraries lined with first editions Reginald never read. Over brandy in the study, fire crackling like suppressed fury, he laid out the vision, post-merger. Ellie at the helm of a new philanthropy arm, her face on Forbes. The power couple narrative cementing Harrington invincibility. "Your mother would be proud," he said, his voice softening for the first time in years, invoking the ghost of Lydia, gone a decade from cancer, whose softness Ellie had inherited and learned to hide. Ellie sipped, the burn steadying her. And if I said no? The words escape. Reckless. Reginald's brow furrowed, the room's shadows deepening. No to what? Exactly. She met his gaze, green eyes to gray. To all of it. The marriage. The spotlight. A beat. Then his laugh hollow. Disbelieving. Eleanor. This isn't a game. We're Harringtons. We endure. He stood, clapping her shoulder with paternal finality. Victor adores you. Make it real. The return to the city was a blur. Manhattan's canyons closing in. Ellie detoured to Brooklyn, needing Jordan's gravity. But the loft was empty. A note on the door, at the studio. Come find me. The studio was a warehouse in Gowanus, shared with other artists, its vast space echoing with the clatter of metal and the hiss of welders. Jordan was there, lost in a massive installation, a cage of recycled steel bars, inside which hung portraits of women in various states of unraveling, their eyes sewn shut with thread. Ellie watched from the doorway, heart aching at the symbolism. You're early, Jordan said without turning, her voice muffled by a welding mask she lifted, sweat beading on her forehead. Sparks had died, but the air smelled of scorched metal. Ellie crossed the concrete floor, dodging half-finished sculptures. Couldn't stay away. She wrapped arms around Jordan from behind, chin on her shoulder, inhaling the mix of sweat and solder. Jordan leaned back, sighing. Rough weekend. Ellie recounted the Greenwich sermon, the weight of invocation. Jordan turned in her embrace, hands framing Ellie's face. He's wrong. You don't endure, you evolve. With me. Their kiss was salt and spark, deepening until the warehouse faded. Just the two of them in a forge of their making. Later, sprawled on a drop cloth amid paint tubes and tools, they talked dreams, Jordan's show evolving into a movement, Ellie funding community centers in the Bronx, a life untethered from penthouses. But reality intruded via a call from Marcus, emergency board call. Langfords are balking on terms. Get back now. Ellie dressed hastily, stealing one last kiss. I'll call later. Jordan's nod was tight, eyes shadowed. The boardroom was a coliseum, executives in tailored suits circling like lions. Marcus led the charge, his baritone steady. But Ellie's mind wandered to the cage in Gowanus. Were they trapped? Or breaking free? She contributed razor-sharp insights, turning the tide, earning nods of approval. Victor cornered her after, champagne flute in hand. Impressive as always. Dinner tomorrow? Make it official. His smile was predatory, expectant. Ellie demurred with a vague yes, escaping to the ladies' room, where she splashed water on her face, staring at the woman in the mirror poised, but fracturing. That night, alone in her apartment overlooking Central Park, Ellie pored over Jordan's texts, a photo of the installation progressing, a voice note humming a half-remembered song from their first night. She replied with a heart, then deleted it, paranoia gnawing. Marcus's last words echoed, "Keep your head in the game. L." Distractions sink ships. The distraction came to a head mid-November. At the annual Harrington Holiday Preview, a black tie affair at the plaza, chandeliers dripping light like liquid gold. Ellie arrived on Victor's arm, her gown a sheath of midnight blue that hugged her like regret. The room buzzed with power players, senators nursing scotches, actresses air-kissing cheeks. Reginald held court, toasting expansions into green tech. Ellie at his side, the dutiful daughter. Halfway through, her phone vibrated in her clutch, a restricted number. Heart leaping, she slipped into a powder room alcove, answering to Jordan's urgent whisper, "I need you. Now." Studio. The plea in her voice was raw, laced with something Ellie couldn't place. Fear? She texted Victor a migraine excuse. Fleeing into the night. Cab racing over the bridge again. This time under a canopy of stars indifferent to her chaos. The warehouse door creaked open to chaos. Overturned easels. Paint splattered like blood. And Jordan in the center, kneeling amid shards of glass from a shattered frame. Her hands were cut, blood streaking her jeans. What happened? Ellie rushed forward, pulling her up, inspecting the wounds. Jordan's laugh was manic, edged with tears. Ex from art school crashed in, jealous of the show buzz. Said, "I'm selling out with your rich girl money," she air-quoted bitterly. But her eyes searched Ellie's. Vulnerable. Ellie bandaged the cuts with strips from her scarf, hands steady despite the tremor inside. "You're not selling out. You're rising." Jordan cupped her cheek, thumb tracing Ellie's jaw. "And you? When do you rise with me?" The question hung, heavy as the steel cage nearby. Ellie kissed her instead, pouring unspoken answers into the press of lips, bodies colliding on the drop cloth in a frenzy that scattered tools. It was salvation and sabotage, love as both anchor and storm. Dawn found them entwined, the warehouse quiet save for their breaths. Jordan traced lazy patterns on Ellie's back. "Promise me something. If it comes down to it. Choose us." Ellie nodded into her neck. But sleep brought dreams of boardrooms aflame. Reginald's face melting into accusation. Waking to missed calls, Marcus, Victor, even Reginald. She knew the noose tightened. The empire demanded tribute, and her heart was the coin. As she dressed, Jordan watched, expression unreadable. "Go conquer your world. But remember mine exists." Ellie left with a kiss that tasted of goodbye, the bridge receding like a lifeline severed. Back in Manhattan, the fallout waited. Victor's icy voicemail about commitment, Marcus's text summoning her to a family chat. Ellie faced them in the tower's conference room. Reginald at the head, his disappointment a tangible force. Rumors. Eleanor. Whispers of instability. The Langfords sense weakness. Marcus chimed in, eyes flicking to her disheveled state. "Whatever or whoever is pulling you away, end it. For all of us." Ellie met their gazes, spine-stealing. "And if I can't?" The room stilled. Reginald leaned forward, voice low thunder. "Then you choose exile over empire." The words landed like blows. But in their echo, Ellie heard Jordan's challenge. The war had begun, not against family, but within. December descended on New York like a velvet shroud, blanketing the city in twinkling lights that masked the chill seeping into bones and souls alike. Ellie moved through it all with the grace of a ghost. Her days a whirlwind of negotiations and nights a vigil of longing. The Langford merger inched forward, contracts thickening like frost on windows, each clause a step toward the altar she dreaded. Victor escalated his campaign, flowers delivered to the office in ostentatious bouquets, A private jet to Aspen for team building, where his hand lingered too long on her knee during après-ski toasts. She played along. Her touch as light as lies. But inside, revulsion brewed. A counterpoint to the fire Jordan kindled. Their meetings grew riskier, laced with the thrill of near misses. One sleeting afternoon, Ellie crossed into Queens for a client lunch, only to end up in a diner off the Grand Central Parkway. Jordan waiting in a booth with steaming mugs of cocoa spiked with rum. The place was a relic. Formica counters scarred by decades. Jukebox crooning Patsy Cline, but in that anonymity, they were free. Jordan slid a small package across the table. A leather-bound sketchbook. Pages filled with portraits of Ellie, not the heiress, but the woman unguarded. Laughing in sunlight. Fierce in shadow. For the days we're apart, Jordan said. Her fingers lingering on the cover. Ellie flipped through. Throat tight. One drawing captured her asleep in the loft. Lips parted in peace she rarely found. How do you see me like this? Jordan's smile was soft, edged with sorrow. Because that's who you are. Not the mask. They talked for hours. Feet tangled under the table. About Jordan's upcoming show, titled Unseen Threads. A nod to the invisible bonds that both connected and constrained. Ellie promised to attend incognito. A scarf and glasses her disguise. But as they parted with a stolen kiss in the diner's shadowed lot, Jordan's whisper haunted. Time's running out. Amor. I feel it. Marcus's suspicions sharpened like a blade on whetstone. At a family dinner in their father's Park Avenue apartment, catered crystal and silver, conversation orbiting stocks and scandals, he cornered her by the grand piano. You're slipping. L. Late nights. Vague excuses. If it's drugs or debt, say it. We fix family. His concern was genuine, twisted with protectiveness born of their mother's absence. But it chafed like ill-fitted armor. Ellie deflected with a quip about workaholism, but his gaze lingered, piecing together the puzzle she hid. Reginald, oblivious or willfully so, pressed the merger timeline. In his office, maps of global holdings projected on walls like conquered territories, he outlined the engagement party, January, at the family compound in the Hamptons. Media blackout until the reveal. It'll be legendary. Eleanor. Your union. Our ascension. She nodded. The yes mechanical. But her mind fled to Jordan's hands. Calloused and kind. Weaving threads Reginald could never comprehend. The first crack appeared mid-month. At a holiday fundraiser for the arts, irony biting as Ellie penned a check for $50,000 to a Chelsea nonprofit. Her name embossed on the program. Victor was there. Arm possessive around her waist. But her eyes scanned the crowd for a familiar silhouette. And there she was, Jordan, in a borrowed velvet dress that hugged her curves like a lover's sigh, mingling with curators, her laugh carrying across the room. Their gazes locked, a current igniting, but Ellie looked away first, heart pounding. Later, in the Kochek's dim recess, Jordan cornered her. Playing the part? Her tone was light, but eyes stormy. Ellie pulled her into the alcove, breaths mingling. I had to come. Support the cause. Jordan's hand slid up her thigh. Under the slit of her gown. A bold claim. The cause. Or me. Their kiss was fire, teeth and tongue. A reclamation amid first stoles and whispers. But footsteps echoed. They parted. Flushed. Jordan slipping away with a wink that didn't reach her eyes. The aftershock lingered. Victor noticed her distraction, his grip tightening at dinner. "Everything all right, darling?" she murmured assent. But nausea rose. That night, alone, she called Jordan, voice cracking over the line. "I miss you already." Jordan's response was a sigh, heavy with unspoken fears. Then stop missing. Start choosing. Christmas Eve brought a fragile truce. Ellie escaped a family soiree, Reginald's annual with the who's who of finance, claiming a migraine, and drove to Brooklyn in a rented sedan, anonymous in the holiday snarl. Jordan waited on her stoop, bundled in a wool coat, snow dusting her hair like powdered sugar. They walked to a nearby park, the city hushed under white, benches empty save for theirs. Jordan unpacked a thermos of mulled wine, stolen from a neighbor's party, and they toasted to unwritten years. Under the bare branches, stories flowed. Jordan's abuela in the Bronx, teaching her to paint with kitchen spices. Ellie's hidden summers at a Vermont camp, where she first kissed a girl under starlit pines, the memory a seed long dormant. "I was scared then," Ellie admitted, head on Jordan's shoulder. "Scared of losing the only world I knew." Jordan turned, cupping her face, snowflakes melting on lashes. "And now," Ellie kissed her, slow and sure. "Now, I'm terrified of never knowing yours." They made love back at the loft, by candlelight flickering against brick, bodies a symphony of sighs and shifts. Jordan's touch was worship, fingers spelling sonnets on skin, lips charting constellations. Afterward, wrapped in quilts, Jordan traced Ellie's tattoo again. "What if we ran to Oregon? Maybe Portland's art scene. Rain like this but kinder." The fantasy wrapped around Ellie like warmth, but dawn brought clarity's cold edge. "Soon," she promised, hating the lie in it. New Year's loomed, a countdown to confrontation. Marcus invited her to a pre-engagement brunch with the Langfords, his text laced with emojis that couldn't mask the ultimatum. Ellie arrived at the Soho loft Victor's pied-à-terre, all sleek lines and abstract art that cost fortunes, to mimosas and merger talk. Victor pulled her aside, ring box in pocket. His proposal scripted. "Be mine, Ellie. We rule together." She froze, the box heavy as chains, mumbling about timing. His face darkened, a crack in the facade. Timing? Or someone else? The accusation hung, seeding doubt. Back at work, whispers circulated, analysts noting her off vibe, stocks dipping a fraction on rumor alone. Reginald called her in, door closing like a vault. Victor confided concerns. "Distractions, Eleanor. Name them, and we'll neutralize." His protectiveness was a cage, gilded but unyielding. Ellie lied smoothly, "Just burnout, Dad," but left with resolve hardening. The breaking point came January 5th, Jordan's show opening night. Ellie prepared meticulously, wig of straight black, oversized glasses, a nondescript coat over jeans. The gallery in Chelsea thrummed, critics in clusters, champagne flutes clinking, unseen threads commanding the space. Jordan's work was revelation, installations of woven wires forming faces, threads pulled taut to reveal hidden depths, spotlit against white walls. Ellie lingered in the shadows, pride swelling, until Jordan spotted her. weaving through the crowd with a grin that lit the room. They stole moments in a back storage. Amid stacked crates, kisses tasting of success and secrecy. You came, Jordan breathed, hands roaming. Always. But elation soured when a curator approached. Name-dropping Harrington funding. Ellie's anonymous gift traced back through layers. Jordan's joy faltered. You promised discretion. Ellie stammered apologies. But the damage bloomed. A photographer's flash from the main room, catching their silhouettes entwined. By midnight, as the crowd thinned, Jordan's phone buzzed, text from friends. Is that Harrington's daughter? With you. Her face paled. This is it. Isn't it? The leak. Ellie pulled her close, but Jordan stiffened. I wanted this on my terms. Not as your scandal. She walked Ellie out. The winter air biting. Go home. Fix your world before it breaks mine. Ellie returned to a siege. Marcus at her door. Face ashen. What the hell? Elle? Photos circulating on Insta blurry. But it's you. With her. He paced her living room. Scotch in hand. Dad's furious. Langford's threatening to pull out. Ellie sank onto the couch. The weight crashing. It's love. Marcus. Real. He stopped. Expression fracturing anger to pity. Love? In our world. It's ammunition. Choose wrong. And we all burn. Alone after he left. Ellie scrolled the images. Grainy shots of their alley kiss. Speculation exploding in comments. The empire teetered. Her secret the fulcrum. She texted Jordan. I'm sorry. But I'm not running. No reply came. The silence a chasm widening. The scandal broke like a dam at dawn. Headlines screaming across digital fronts before Ellie could even brew coffee. Harrington heiress in secret affair. Merger in jeopardy? The post led with the blurry photo. Speculation spiraling into tabloid frenzy. Lesbian love shocker rocks Wall Street dynasty. Victor's call came first. Voice clipped as Arctic wind. Explain this. Eleanor. Or the deal's dead. She hung up mid-sentence. Nausea rising. And poured the coffee black. Staring at the skyline that now felt like enemy territory. Reginald's summons was immediate. The tower's private elevator whisking her to the summit suite where family wars were waged. He stood at the window. Back ramrod. The city sprawling submissive below. Marcus flanked him. Arms crossed. A brother turned inquisitor. Sit, Reginald commanded. Voice gravel. Ellie obeyed. Spine straight despite the quake inside. This. Dalliance. How long? She met his eyes. Seeing not just patriarch but a man clinging to control. 6 months. It's not a dalliance. It's her. The room iced over. Marcus exhaled sharply. Jesus. L. Her. As in. Reginald silenced him with a look. Then turned to her. Expression unreadable. You've jeopardized everything. The Langfords are livid. Victor feels humiliated. Stocks dipped 3 points overnight. Ellie absorbed the blows. Each a reminder of the cost. I didn't plan it. But I won't end it. Reginald's laugh was bitter bark. Won't? You're a Harrington. We won't. We decide. He paced. Shadows lengthening. Give me names. Details. We'll contain it NDA. Payoff. Whatever it takes. The proposition curdled her stomach. Contain Jordan? Like a leak in the plumbing. Marcus interjected. Softer. Elle. Think. This isn't just you. Dad's legacy. My kid's future. Guilt twisted. But resolve held. Then let me fix it my way. Reginald halted. Eyes narrowing. Your way means exile. Step down from the board. Fade from view. Or marry Victor. Bury this. And we weather the storm together. The ultimatum landed. A guillotine's shadow. Ellie stood. Voice steady. Give me a week. To decide. She fled to the streets. Coat collar high against prying lenses. Paparazzi already swarming the lobby. Flashes like gunfire. A cab to Brooklyn. Heart hammering. Jordan's loft was barricaded. Door ajar. The air thick with turpentine and tension. She sat cross-legged amid ravaged canvases. Scissors in hand. Shredding sketches of them, methodical. Cathartic. You shouldn't be here, she said without looking up. But her voice cracked. Ellie knelt. Gathering fragments. I had to. Jordan's eyes met hers. Red-rimmed. Furious. Had to? This is your mess. Ellie. My show's tainted, sponsors pulling. Friends whispering. I painted us into existence. And you painted us into oblivion. The accusation stung true. Ellie reached for her hand. But Jordan recoiled. Don't. Touch fixes nothing. They sat in silence. The snip of scissors a metronome to grief. Finally, Jordan whispered. I thought you were different. The one who'd burn it all for me. Ellie's tears fell. Hot on the concrete. I want to. I do. But my family's. Jordan's laugh shattered. Your family's a machine. And I'm the glitch. She stood. Tossing scissors aside. Go back. Marry your prince. I'll survive. Ellie surged up. Gripping her arms. No. We're more than survival. Their argument escalated. Voices echoing off brick. Jordan hurling truths about power imbalances. Ellie countering with pleas of love's defiance. It ended in collision. Lips crashing. Bodies yielding in a tangle of need and negation. On the floor. Amid shredded paper. They reclaimed each other. Touches desperate. As if friction could forge permanence. Morning brought fragile peace. Coffee brewed on a hot plate. Shared on the fire escape overlooking snow-dusted roofs. Jordan leaned into her. Vulnerability peaking. What now? Ellie traced her palm's lifeline. I talked to them. By time. But doubt shadowed Jordan's gaze. Time's the thief. Remember. The week blurred into a gauntlet. Ellie holed up in a neutral hotel in Midtown. A bland suite at the Addition. Anonymity bought with cash, fielding calls like missiles. Victor's ultimatums devolved to voicemails of betrayal. Reginald's were steel negotiations, offering concessions if she recommitted. Marcus visited once, bearing takeout and brotherly pleas. Dad's breaking. L. Heart stuff docs say stress. Guilt not deeper. But she held firm. I can't live half a life. She snuck to Jordan. Their haven shifting to a safe house in Harlem, a friend sublet. Walls papered in protest posters. There. They plotted escapes. Vermont cabins with roaring fires. Where Ellie could learn to chop wood and Jordan to paint en plein air. Laughter came easier. But undercurrents pulled. Jordan's canceled commissions, Ellie's frozen assets as precaution. One evening, over candlelit pasta, Jordan slid a key across the table. My abuela's place in the Bronx. If it goes south, meet me there. Doors always open. The deadline loomed. January 12th. The Spectre. Ellie returned to the tower, dressed in armor-tailored suit, hairpin-like resolve. The boardroom was full. Executives, lawyers, the Langfords rep glaring daggers. Reginald open, voice resonant. Eleanor has an announcement. All eyes on her. The room a pressure cooker. She stood, pulse thundering. I'm stepping back from the merger. Personally, gasps rippled. Victor's face purpled. On what grounds? Personal ones, she said. Chin high. The Harrington name stands on integrity, not forced alliances. Chaos erupted, questions barraging. Reginald's gavel slam silencing. In his office after, alone, he deflated, shoulders sagging. You've chosen her over us. Ellie knelt by his chair, hand on his. No, Dad. Over the lie. But I'm not leaving the family. Just rewriting the rules. His eyes, wet for the first time she remembered, searched hers. Be careful, Eleanor. Love's a battlefield. Freedom tasted bittersweet. Stocks rebounded on spin, Harrington pivot. Focus on innovation over expansion, but whispers lingered. Victor sued for breach. A nuisance settled quietly. Marcus brokered peace. His texts warming. Proud of you, sis. Drink soon. Ellie moved tentative steps. Public statement via the foundation. Supporting LGBTQ+ arts initiatives. Her name tied to Jordan's world. But elation cracked under pressure. Jordan's show reviews mixed, praise for vision, barbs for nepotistic ties. Gigs dried up. Resentment festering. One night in the sublet, after a gallery rejection, Jordan lashed out. This is your curse, Ellie. Your shadow chokes me. The fight spilled raw. Insecurities unearthed. Jordan admitting fears of being the mistress who wrecked a dynasty. Ellie confessing terror of inadequacy. They parted bruised. Ellie crashing at the hotel. Dawn finding her scrolling old photos. Ache hollowing. Reconciliation came haltingly. A call from Jordan. I need you. Abuelas. The Bronx house was a time capsule, linoleum kitchen. Saints on shelves. Air redolent of Eros con candles. Jordan's grandmother. Rosa. 70-something with silver braids and eyes like Jordan's sharp. Seeing, embraced Ellie without question. Mija. Love don't ask permission. Over plates of pernil. Stories wove them tighter. Rosa's own hidden youth in 1960s Cuba. Fleeing to New York with dreams deferred. We survived by holding on, she said, squeezing Ellie's hand. That night, in Jordan's childhood room, posters faded. Bed narrow, they made love softly. Explorations tender as confessions. Jordan's whispers mapped futures. A joint studio in upstate. Collaborations blending finance and art for social good. Ellie clung, believing. Yet betrayal brewed unseen. Marcus called mid-February. Voice strained. Check the post. Now. The article gutted her. Harrington insider leak. Ellie's lover tied to activist group targeting corporate greed. Photos of Jordan at protests, anti-gentrification rallies outside Harrington properties. juxtaposed with their kiss. Anonymous source. She was playing us all. Ellie confronted Jordan at the loft. Printout trembling. Is it true? The protests against us. Jordan's face crumpled. Yes. But not against you. Against the system that chews people like my family. Hurt bloomed to fury. You hid it. Used me. Jordan recoiled. Used? I loved you despite it. The row escalated. Truths weaponized. Ellie's privilege blinding. Jordan's activism a shield cracking. Ellie stormed out. The doors slam echoing her shattering trust. Days blurred in isolation. Ellie dodging Reginald's worried voicemails. Victor's gloating texts. The empire stabilized. But her world tilted. A lone walk in Central Park. Snow melting to slush. Brought clarity amid bare branches. Love demanded honesty. Not perfection. She texted Jordan, we need to talk. Truly. The meeting was at the bridge. Neutral ground. Dusk painting the river copper. Jordan arrived windblown. Guarded. Ellie started raw. I overreacted. Your fight's mine now. Jordan softened. Tears tracing. I should have told you. Feared losing this. Hands clasped over railing. They rebuilt promises of transparency. Joint fronts against the storm. The kiss sealed it. Skyline witnessed to renewal. But shadows lengthened. Marcus confessed over coffee. The leak? Not me. But a bored ally to Dad. Protecting the firm. Betrayals sting anew. Yet it forged steel. Ellie returned to the fray. Announcing a partnership. Harrington funding for Jordan's activist art collective. Turning weapon to ally. Spring whispered promises. Cherry blossoms defiant in concrete cracks. Their love. Tested. Deepened nights in the Bronx with Rose's laughter. Days plotting empires of equity. Yet Ellie knew. True healing lay, not conquest. April unfurled in New York with tentative warmth. The kind that coaxed daffodils from sidewalk planters and illusions of permanence from fragile hearts. Ellie and Jordan navigated their rebuilt bridge with cautious steps. Each date a deliberate defiance of the city's judgmental hum. A picnic in Prospect Park one sun-dappled Sunday. Blanket spread under budding oaks. Where Jordan unpacked empanadas from Rose's kitchen and Ellie confessed her Yale ghosts. The roommate affair. Ended by internalized shame and a father's unwitting pressure. I thought it made me broken, she said. Grapes poised midair. Jordan fed her one. Juice bursting sweet. Nah. Just human. Like the rest of us. Their rhythm steadied. Mornings at Ellie's gym in Tribeca. Jordan tagging along with eye rolls at the spin classes. Evenings at community workshops in the Bronx. Where Jordan taught graffiti techniques to at-risk youth. Ellie funding supplies and guest spots from artists she'd quietly recruited. The collective bloomed Threads of Resistance. A non-profit blending street art with advocacy. Its first mural adorning a South Bronx wall. Women of color shattering glass ceilings. Literally rendered in mosaic shards. Reginald attended the unveiling incognito. His nod from the crowd a silent olive branch. Later. Over cigars on Ellie's balcony. He admitted. It's bold. Like your mother. The thaw began. Tentative conversations about board seats sans mergers. But Victor lingered like a bad aftertaste. His lawsuit dragged. Depositions dredging Ellie's private emails. Nothing damning. But invasive as surgery. One hearing in a sterile downtown courthouse. Jordan waiting outside with coffee. Ellie emerged drained, collapsing into her arms on a bench. He called me a phase, she whispered, fury trembling. Jordan's hold tightened. Phases end. We're eternal. That night. In the sublet now they banished shadows, love slow and affirming. Jordan's mouth a liturgy of adoration. Ellie's responses a prayer answered. Marcus bridged gaps, inviting them to a low-key dinner at his Brooklyn brownstone. His wife Lena, a pediatrician with warm hugs, their toddler eyeing Jordan's tattoos with awe. Over Lena's lasagna, talk skirted scandals, landing on futures. You two starting something real here, Marcus said, clinking glasses. Ellie squeezed Jordan's knee under the table, gratitude swelling. But as they left, his aside to her, Dad's pushing for reconciliation. Full. With strings, the warning chilled. A reminder that forgiveness in dynasties came priced. Jordan's vulnerabilities surfaced in waves. A gallery offer in San Francisco solo retrospective. Career-making arrived via email. Tempting escape from New York scrutiny. What if we went? She mused one rainy evening, curled on the couch with takeout tie. Ellie paused, chopsticks hovering. Together? I'd follow, but doubt flickered in Jordan's eyes. Your roots are here. Empire calls. The conversation meandered to roots. Jordan's abuela Rosa falling ill. Pneumonia stubborn in her lungs, pulling her toward caregiving duties. I can't leave her, Jordan said, voice small. Ellie vowed support nurses, whatever needed, binding them closer. The real tempest brewed in May, when an investigative piece dropped in Vanity Fair, the Harrington heiress's hidden heart, love, loss, and the cost of coming out. Penned by a former Society reporter with grudges, it dissected Ellie's life, childhood nannies, mother's death. The secret affair framed as rebellion against patriarchal control. Quotes twisted. Reginald painted as tyrant. Jordan as opportunist. Sales spiked for the collective ironically, but personal toll mounted. Protesters picketed Harrington HQ. Hypocrites. Echoing Jordan's old chants. Now aimed inward. Ellie faced the board. Her presentation a gauntlet. Data on the collective's impact. Projections for ethical investments. This isn't distraction, she argued. Slides glowing with murals and metrics. It's evolution. Votes teetered. Reginald sway tipping yes, grudging. But yes. Post-meeting. He pulled her aside. You're gambling our name on ideals. Hope she merits it. Ellie nodded. But inside, fire kindled. Jordan crumbled privately. Nights after workshops, she'd withdraw, sketching feverishly dark abstracts of chains and fractures. One argument erupted over a declined donor, a Harrington ally wary of politicization. See? Your name poisons everything, Jordan snapped. Palette knife clattering. Ellie countered. Or protects. Let me fight. But Jordan's walls rose. Fight for you. Maybe. Not us. They slept apart. The beta chasm. Healing came circuitously. Via Rosa's bedside. The older woman, frail in hospital whites but spirit unbowed, beckoned them close. Mujeres fuertes. Both, she rasped, hands clasping theirs. Stories flowed. Her own forbidden love in Havana. A seamstress who vanished in the revolution. We carry them here, she tapped her chest. Not in regret, but fire. Tears mingled. Jordan's head on Ellie's lap. Forgiveness forging in vulnerability. Summer solstice brought pivot. Jordan accepted a residency in upstate New York Beacon, along the Hudson. A month of immersion at Beacon's artist program. Come weekends, she invited. Eyes hopeful. Ellie cleared her calendar. The drive north a ritual, windows down. Indie playlist. Stopping at farm stands for cheeses and cherries. The residency house was bohemian, wooden beams. Shared kitchens buzzing with creators from LA to Lagos. Jordan thrived. Her work evolving. Interactive pieces where viewers wove threads to unlock narratives. Symbolizing choice. Ellie's visits were oases. One twilight. They hiked Breakneck Ridge. Sweat slicked and breathless. Summiting to views of River Serpentine below. At the peak, Jordan dropped to one knee, not proposal, but offering a braided bracelet of wire and beads. A thread for us. Unbreakable. Ellie fastened it. Kissing knuckles. Promise. Their lovemaking that night in the guest house was elemental, skin sun-warmed. Touches reverent. The Hudson's murmur underscoring moans. Back in the city. Tensions simmered. Victor's case dismissed. But he cornered her at a charity auction, sneering. Enjoy your little activist fling. It'll fade. Ellie turned. Voice ice. It's not little. And it won't. Marcus mediated a family summit in Greenwich. Reginald offering terms. Ellie's role expanded. But with oversight. Prove this love strengthens. Not weakens. She agreed. Channeling it into initiatives. Harrington grants for queer artists. Board diversity pushes. August heatwave tested bonds. Rosa stabilized. But Jordan's burnout peaked. Deadlines clashing with family pulls. A blowout over Ellie's late board meeting. Always the empire first. Ellie snapped back. And you're running before we build. Silence stretched days. Broken by a desperate voicemail from Jordan. I hate fighting you. Come home. Reconciliation in the loft. Apologies over ice cream at midnight. Bodies reconciling in laughter and languor. Fall hinted. Leaves turning. As the first anniversary neared, the gallery night that started it all. They returned. The space now Jordan's permanent studio. Walls bearing new works. A diptych of Ellie. One in corporate armor. The other bare and bold. Threads connecting. Our story, Jordan said. Unveiling. Ellie traced the lines. Awestruck. Beautiful. Like you. Yet undercurrents stirred. Anonymous emails to Ellie, threats veiled. Hinting deeper leaks. Marcus investigated. Uncovering Victor's hand. Hired PI digging dirt. Confrontation at a neutral cafe. Ellie across from his smug face. Why? Victor shrugged. Payback. You chose wrong. She leaned in. Calm. No. I chose right. A restraining order followed. But the violation lingered. A scar on trust. As harvest moon rose, Ellie proposed not ring, but plan. A sabbatical. 6 months in Vermont. Restoring an old farmhouse. Building their collective's flagship there. Jordan's yes was tearful. Embrace fierce. The empire yielded. Reginald's blessing gruff. Go. But return stronger. They packed amid chaos. Boxes labeled us. Driving north under amber skies. The city receding like a dream half remembered. In the Green Mountains. Roots took tentative hold chopping wood. Planting perennials. Nights by hearth with wine and whispers. Love deepen. Unhurried. Mornings waking to Jordan's sketches. Afternoons hiking mist-shrouded trails. Hands linked. Conflicts arose. City withdrawal for Ellie. Isolation chafing Jordan, but dialogues mended. Therapy sessions via Zoom with a queer counselor unpacking layers. Thanksgiving gathered them with Rosa. Flown up. And Marcus's family. Tables groaning under turkey and traditions blended. Laughter echoed. Reginald's video toasting new chapters. The snow fell. Ellie realized. The journey wasn't destination, but the weaving the threads of self. Love. Legacy entwined. Yet winter whispered warnings. A call from the board. Crisis brewing. Competitors circling. Ellie glanced at Jordan, sketching by firelight, and chose, handle remotely. The empire waited. Their world, for now, was here. Winter in Vermont wrapped the farmhouse in a hush of snowdrifts and star-pricked skies. The isolation a bomb and a blade. Ellie adapted unevenly. Mornings wrestling the wood stove to life. Her manicured hands blistered from kindling. Afternoons lost in emails from Manhattan. Bridging the dynasty's demands with their rustic idol. Jordan flowered in the quiet. Her studio a converted barn redolent of pine and possibility. Canvases sprawling with winter's capes infused with human warmth. Figures huddled against blizzards. Hands outstretched in connection. Their days wove domestic magic. Breakfasts of pancakes dusted with maple from local taps. Jordan flipping them with theatrical flair while Ellie brewed coffee strong as resolve. Afternoons cross-country skiing on frozen ponds. Laughter echoing as they tumbled into drifts. Bodies warming in post-tumble tangles. Evenings by the hearth. Rosa visiting for a week. Her stories of Cuban winter seasoning stews. Her rosary beads clicking counterpoint to Jordan's guitar strums. This is living. Mija, Rosa told Ellie one dawn. Snow globing the window. Not just breathing, but fractures spidered. Ellie's remote role strained. Midnight calls from Marcus on acquisition snags. Reginald's weekly check-ins laced with subtle pulls. The board misses your edge. Eleanor. Guilt nod. Amplified by spotty internet that dropped mid-sentence. Leaving her pacing frost-rimed floors. Jordan noticed. Her empathy a mirror. You're half here, she said one night. After Ellie snapped over a garbled merger update. The argument simmered low. Jordan accusing escape over commitment. Ellie defending balance. I left for us, she pleaded. Jordan softened, pulling her close. Then stay present. Intimacy became anchor. In the barn's loft, under rafters strung with fairy lights, they explored with winter's languor, touches unhurried, lips mapping freckles dusted by hearth glow. Jordan's fingers, paint-flecked, coaxed symphonies from Ellie's skin. Ellie's whispers, boardroom hone, spun fantasies of forever. One blizzard-bound night, snow howling, they danced naked to Nina Simone on a crackling radio, bodies swaying in firelight, laughter dissolving into moans that shook the beams. The collective thrived remotely, virtual workshops drawing global artists, funding from ethical investors Ellie courted via Zoom. Jordan curated an online exhibit, Threads in the Cold, selling prints to cover Rose's care. Proceeds seeding Bronx scholarships. Success buoyed. But envy crept. A fellow resident, Lena, a sculptor from Portland with easy charm and shared queer history, lingered too long in conversations. Her compliments to Jordan laced with intent. Ellie dismissed it at first. insecurity a relic buried. But one evening, returning from a supply run, she found them laughing over clay. Lena's hand on Jordan's arm. Jealousy flared. Irrational but incendiary. That night, post-dinner, Ellie confronted. What's with her? Jordan's brow furrowed. Colleague stuff. Why? Words escalated. Ellie's fears of inadequacy spilling. Jordan countering with frustration at distrust. You think I'd throw us for a flirt? The fight peaked in tears. Ellie storming to the guest room. Door clicking shut like finality. Sleep evaded. Dawn finding her on the porch. Mug steaming. Regretting the fracture. Apology brewed over breakfast. Ellie plating eggs with wilted grace. I'm scared of losing this to my doubts. Jordan crossed the kitchen, enveloping her. Doubts are threads too. We weave them in. Forgiveness led to loft lovemaking. Reaffirming. Body's a testament to resilience. Spring thaw mirrored renewal. Rose's health rally. Allowing a family trip to Burlington, ferry rides on Lake Champlain. Ice cream cones dripping in sun. Marcus joined with Lena and the kids. Snowball remnants melting underfoot. His toast at a lakeside diner. To sisters who teach us brave. Reginald's care package arrived. Books on sustainable aging. A note. Proud of the farm. And the fight. Challenges mounted externally. Victor resurfaced via lawyer. Defamation suit over the article. Dredging old wounds. Ellie handled it from the farmhouse kitchen. Phone wedged under chin while kneading bread. Her countersuit swift. But media hounds tracked them north. Drones buzzing over the property. A tabloid staking out the general store. Jordan's paranoia peaked. They're everywhere. Our peace is illusion. Ellie fortified privacy fences. Legal cease and desists. But the intrusion soured. Nights patrolled by flashlight. A deeper betrayal surfaced in June. Lilacs blooming defiant. Marcus called. Voice grave. Dad's sick. Prostate. Early. Treatable. But. Come home. The word home twisted. Vermont's green hills suddenly confining. Ellie flew solo. Jordan staying for a mural deadline. The separation a test. In Greenwich. Reginald was diminished, hospital gown loose on his frame. Eyes shadowed. Foolish old man, he muttered. Gripping her hand. Pushed too hard. Ellie stayed weeks. Coordinating treatments. Board wrangling. Marcus her shadow. Jordan's texts anchored. Hearts. Sketches of the farmhouse waiting. Distance frayed. Jordan's emails hinted at beacon pull. Offers for extensions. Lena's circle tempting. A video call crackled. Miss you. But this place. It's mine. Ellie's response masked hurt. Ours. Soon. Doubt seeded. Blooming when a mutual friend texted a photo. Jordan and Lena at a bonfire. Arms linked in camaraderie. Paranoia revisited. Ellie confronting via call. What's happening there? Jordan's exasperation crackled. Nothing. Trust. Ellie. Or what's left? Reunion in July was fraught. The farmhouse air thick with unsaid. They circled warily, dinners polite. Beds shared but distant. The break came mid-month. During a heat wave that turned the barn into sauna. Jordan unveiled a new piece. A sculpture of two figures back to back. Threads fraying between. Us, she said. Ellie touched it. Emotion surging. Breaking. Jordan shook head. Evolving. Confession followed. Ellie's hospital fears amplifying abandonment terrors. Jordan admitting Beacon's allure as escape from scrutiny. I need space to breathe you in fully. Therapy resumed. Virtual sessions unpacking. Ellie's attachment wounds from Lydia's loss. Jordan's from absent fathers in gentrified barrios. Progress was glacial. But glacial moves mountains. August brought harvest, tomatoes bursting red. Jams canned for winter and with it, intimacy reborn. A weekend getaway to the Adirondacks. Canoe on mirror lakes. Portages through fern-choked trails. Tent nights under Perseids. Stars witnesses to recommitments whispered in dark. Fall painted the hills crimson. The collective's flagship opening. A center in Bennington. Classes in art and advocacy. Funded by Harrington Ethics Arm. The gala drew crowds, Rosa beaming. Marcus toasting. Even a proxy from Reginald. Jordan's keynote moved. Threads connect. But we choose the weave. Ellie's pride swelled. Her speech following. Love taught me strength isn't holding on, it's letting go. Together. Yet climax loomed. November elections stirred national unrest. Protests flaring in cities. The collective targeted by conservative donors pulling funds. Threats arrived. Anonymized emails to Ellie. Your dyke dream ends here. Victor's shadow suspected. But proof elusive. Jordan hardened. We fight. Ellie agreed. But fear coiled for Jordan's safety. Their fragile nest. The storm broke Thanksgiving Eve. A rally in Albany turning violent, counter-protesters clashing. Jordan caught in fray. Bruised ribs from a shove. Ellie raced south. Hospital lights harsh. Holding her hand through x-rays. I'm okay, Jordan insisted. But eyes betrayed terror. That night, in a sterile room, Ellie proposed truly. Ring simple gold band etched with threads. Marry me. Not despite the world for it. Jordan's yes was tear-salted. Embrace fierce. Reginald's recovery paralleled. Chemocycles yielding remission whispers. His visit to Vermont, first time on the farm, awkward but earnest, tour of the barn. Lunch of Ellie's stew. Talk turning to Lydia. She'd love this Jordan, he said. Vulnerability cracking. As I do. Slowly, winter returned. But warmer rings exchanged in a snow-draped ceremony at the pond. Just family. Vows exchanged under evergreens. Marcus officiated. Rosa's blessing in Spanish song. The empire stabilized. Ellie balancing roles with intention. Love. Once secret destroyer. Now architect, threads mending what shattered. The new year dawned crystalline. Vermont's frost etching promises on window panes. But beneath the serenity, tremors built like pressure in fault lines. Ellie and Jordan's marriage, quietly filed in Bennington Courthouse. Rings glinting like talismans, infused days with glow. Yet the world beyond the farmhouse refused to fade. Reginald's remission held, allowing sporadic visits. Him in flannel attempting garden weeding. Grumbling at soil under nails. Jordan teasing his corporate grip on trowels. Marcus's family became fixtures. Holidays a blend of Harrington Reserve and Reyes vibrancy. Thanksgiving turkeys alongside pernil. Carols in English and Spanish. Jordan's art surged. Commissions from progressive orgs. Murals for women's shelters in Albany. Installations for MoMA PS1 probing identities weave. Ellie champion from shadows securing grants. Her name a shield rather than stain. The collective expanded. Satellites in Brooklyn and Burlington. Youth programs yielding testimonials that humbled. A trans teen's first exhibit. A single mom's empowerment through stencil workshops. Success bred scrutiny. Though conservative outlets branding it Harrington's woke wash, Victor's allies in media amplifying. Intimacy evolved. Marriage a deepening river. Mornings tangled in flannel sheets. Jordan's fingers tracing Ellie's wedding band like Braille, eliciting shivers. Afternoons in the barn. Ellie modeling for portraits, bare-shouldered. Gaze defiant, Jordan's brush strokes a caress. Night. Post-dinner. They'd read aloud. Jordan's poetry slams. Ellie's Austen. Laughter punctuating until words yielded to touch. Bodies conversing in the flicker of beeswax candles. "You're my masterpiece," Jordan murmured once. Lips on collarbone. Ellie arching into the vow. But fault lines cracked. Rose's health waned again, congestive heart failure. Doctors urging rest. Jordan shuttled to the Bronx. Weak stretching. Her absences carving hollows in Ellie. Calls crackled with love but laced with weariness. Abuela's fading stories. Wish you here. Ellie juggled, flying down for weekends. But board pulls intensified. A European summit on sustainable finance demanding presence. Go, Jordan urged. We'll sync. But sync frayed. Texts delayed by time zones. Misunderstandings blooming. The betrayal resurfaced. Insidious. April showers brought leaks. Internal emails from the collective hacked. Donor lists exposed. Sparking donor exodus. Finger pointed at Victor. His firm's cyber arm implicated. But proof danced elusive. A digital ghost. Ellie hired investigators. Nights poring over logs by laptop glow. Jordan returning to find her hollow-eyed. This poison again, Jordan said. Arms wrapping. But tension simmered, Jordan blaming Ellie's ties. Cut the empire loose. Ellie defending necessity. It funds our fight. Climax crested in May. Rose's bedside vigil turning dire. Ellie arrived mid-flight from Paris. Jet-lagged to the Bronx apartment. Air heavy with medicinal tang. Rosa lay pale. Machines beeping dirge. But her grip on Jordan's hand was iron. Ms. Amores, she whispered. Eyes fluttering to Ellie. Promise. Weave joy from sorrow. Her passing came gentle. At dawn. Family clustered, Jordan's sobs raw. Ellie's silent tears soaking Jordan's hair. The funeral was a tapestry. Bronx church with mariachi swells. Harrington limos idling discreet. Mourners from collective to board. Grief hollowed Jordan. Her light dimmed. Back in Vermont. She withdrew, studio door shut. Meals picked at. Nights staring at ceilings. Ellie tiptoed. Offering space but aching for connection. Talk to me, she pleaded one storm-lashed evening. Thunder underscoring plea. Jordan's voice cracked. She was my anchor. Now. What if I'm adrift? Ellie held her through sobs. But the rift widened, Jordan rejecting therapy. Ellie overcompensating with collective expansions. Masking her own sorrow. Summer solstice brought eruption. A board retreat in the Hamptons, Ellie attending solo. Jordan demurring, devolved into ambush. Reginald. Post-remission robust. Announcing a legacy pivot. Reinstating merger talks with a rebranded Langford. Victor at helm. Stability demands it, Reginald urged. Eyes beseeching. Ellie balked. After everything, Marcus mediated. But pressure mounted stock whispers. Ally defections. She returned firestormed, confronting Jordan. They're pushing. I need you in this. Jordan's laugh was hollow. In your war? I'm grieving. Ellie. Not strategizing. The fight detonated, Jordan hurling Ellie's privilege blinders, Ellie accusing withdrawal as abandonment. You married this. Ellie shouted. Ring flashing. Jordan recoiled. Married you. Not the machine. She stormed to the barn. Door slamming. Ellie to the porch. Rain mingling tears. Dawn brought reckoning. Ellie found Jordan amid canvases. One half finished. Their figures. Threads snapping. I can't lose you to this, Jordan whispered. Ellie knelt. Hands open. Then let's redefine. Sell my shares. Start fresh. The offer hung. Revolutionary. Jordan searched her eyes. Then nodded. Tears salting. Together. Rebuilding commenced. Ellie negotiated buyout partial. Retaining influence sans control funds seeding a new venture. Harrington Reyes Foundation. Autonomous. Art-driven equity. Reginald conceded. His letter poignant. You've outgrown us. Fly. Victor's final jab. A smear campaign quashed by evidence, faded to irrelevance. Fall healed. Jordan's solo show in Burlington, woven grief cathartic. Crowds weeping at portraits of Rosa. Threads trailing to Ellie. Sales funded scholarships in her name. Intimacy reignited. Harvest moons lighting hayloft trysts. Bodies rediscovering in forgiveness's glow. One night. Under quilt. Jordan traced Ellie's scars. Invisible from scandals. Tangible from growth. We're unbreakable now. Winter whispered closure. The farmhouse. Snow blanketed. Hosted solstice gathering Marcus's brood sledding. Reginald toasting by fire. Stories circled. Losses mourned. Love celebrated. Ellie and Jordan slipped away. To the pond frozen silver. Skating hand in hand. Breaths clouding vows renewed. Yet self-discovery deepened. Ellie journaled. Pages of uncharted inner. Fears of obsolescence post-empire. Joys in soil-stained simplicity. Jordan sculpted therapy. Pieces of fused glass. Fractures mended gold. Their journey. No longer linear. Spiraled conflicts as compost. Healing in layers. Spring bloomed. Cherry trees confetti. The Foundation's first grant cycle launching. Ellie. Unyoked. Felt lightness. Jordan. Anchored in legacy. Painted bolder. Love. Once empire's foe. Now its redeemer. Threads not destroying, but reweaving into resilience. The cycle turned again. Seasons blurring into a rhythm as familiar as heartbeat. The farmhouse no longer refuge but root. Ellie and Jordan's life post-buyout was a quiet revolution. Mornings shared in the kitchen. Sunlight slanting on scarred counters. Coffee brewing as they planned the day's weave. Ellie's foundation meetings via video from the sunroom. Jordan's barn sessions spilling into collaborative sketches over lunch. The Harrington Reyes Foundation flourished. To charter a manifesto, art as activism. Equity through expression, drawing applicants from barrios to bayous. Each grant a thread pulled from privilege's loom. Reginald's visits grew frequent. His remission a gift allowing grandfatherly indulgences. Teaching the neighbor's kids chess on the porch. His gravel voice softening as Jordan painted his portrait. Wrinkles mapped like victory lines. You've made me better, he told Ellie one autumn equinox. Leaves carpeting the drive. Marcus thrived as interim CEO. His calls now fraternal banter over boardroom banalities. Lena whispering invites to family expansions. Aunties need it, she'd tease, evoking futures Ellie once deemed impossible. Jordan's grief for Rosa ebbed to honoring tide. Annual altars in the barn. Marigolds and memories. Her work evolving into communal rituals. Workshops where participants wove memory tapestries. Threads of loss gilded into legacy. One piece. Vuela's hands. A massive wall hanging of embroidered palms cradling flames. Toured galleries. Proceeds rebuilding Bronx community centers. Ellie attended openings. No longer incognito. Her arm linked with Jordan's. Facing flashes with shared glance, defiant. Unbowed. Intimacy deep into unspoken dialect. In the hayloft. Now their sanctum with a proper bed amid rafters. They'd lose hours. Jordan's mouth exploring Ellie's curves with painter's precision. Ellie responding with executive command. Guiding hands to elicit gasps that echoed like thunder. Post-climax. Tangled in sheets scented of lavender from the garden. Conversations meandered. Dreams of travel, a sabbatical in Oaxaca. Learning Jordan's ancestral dyes, or quiet. A library in the attic for Ellie's emerging essays on corporate redemption. Write our story, Jordan urged. Fingers circling Ellie's navel. The real one. Challenges persisted. Tempered by time. Victor's shadow fully exorcised. A defamation when netting settlement for the collective. His name fading to footnote. New foes emerged. Bureaucratic snarls and grant approvals. Trolls harassing online exhibits. But unity armored them. Ellie strategizing legalese. Jordan channeling ire into protest prints. One cyber attack on the foundation's site. Doxing participants. Tested bonds. They fortified together. Nights coding firewalls with a hired whiz. Dawn breaking on victory beers. Self-discovery flowered in solitude's soil. Ellie took up pottery, wheels spinning mud to vessels. Her hands learning yield. Forms emerging imperfect but whole. Jordan joined. Their mugs mismatched but cherished. Steaming with tea during rain-lashed reads. Therapy continued. Biannual check-ins unpacking residual scars. Ellie's imposter echoes from Dynasty days. Jordan's hypervigilance from streets survived. We're healed. Not fixed, the counselor affirmed. And they nodded. Hands clasped across the screen. Summer brought pilgrimage south. Bronx block party honoring Rosa. Streets alive with salsa rhythms. Murals fresh under sun. Jordan led a weave circle. Neighbors threading stories into a communal banner. Ellie facilitated funding talks with local leaders. Her pitch laced with humility. Marcus flew in. Kids dancing barefoot. Reginald toasting with rum punch. To roots reclaimed. Night fell firefly lit. Ellie and Jordan slipping to the rooftop. City pulse below. Their kiss tasting of homecoming Brooklyn's grit. Vermont's green. Fused. Fall harvest yielded abundance. Foundation's impact report. Metrics of lives touched, youth employed. Walls transformed. A gala in Burlington. Black ties amid birch canopies. Celebrated milestones, Jordan's speech. Voice steady. Love isn't the absence of storm. It's the loom that withstands. Ellie's followed. Eyes on her. She taught me empire's true measure. Hearts held. Not holdings. Winter's hush invited reflection. Snowshoeing trails laced with fox prints. They'd pause at overlooks. Breath sinking with wind. One eve. By hearth. Jordan unveiled a final gift. A bound volume. Their story sketched. From bridge storm to farmhouse hearth. Pages turning like years. Ellie leafed, tears pricking. Our epic. Jordan smiled. Mischievous. With sequels. Yet the arc crested poignant. Reginald's checkup revealed recurrence metastatic. Aggressive. The call shattered Christmas prep. Tinsel half-strung. Ellie flew immediate. Jordan following. The farmhouse loaned to Marcus's clan. Greenwich Hospice was hushed opulence. Reginald frail but fierce. Surrounded by ledgers and loves. Regrets, he rasped. Ellie at bedside. Pushed too hard. But you. You balanced. Jordan sat vigil too. Her hand in his. Stories exchanged, his Wall Street gambles. Her barrio hustles. His passing came spring equinox. Sun-piercing clouds. A full circle. Grief shared deepened them. Funeral at the estate. Eulogies blending tycoon tales with tender asides. Ellie's words. He built worlds. We build on. Back north. They planted a maple in his honor. Roots to shade future gatherings. The foundation inherited his ethos. Bold bets on underdogs, ensuring legacy lived. Years layered. Love's patina rich. Ellie published Memoir Threads of Empire. Raw reckonings on power and passion. Bestseller quiet but resonant. Jordan's retrospective at the Whitney. Weavings. Drew throngs. Ellie curating alongside. They mentored. A young queer artist duo. Echoes of themselves. Funded and fierce. Anniversaries marked milestones. Bridge recreations with wine. Loft reunions in Brooklyn. Intimacy. Season. Sparked anew. A decade's touch knowing every size origin. One anniversary. Under harvest moon. Jordan whispered. Kids? Someday. Ellie paused. Then smiled. Our weave. Expanded. The journey closed not in fanfare. But fade. A life of quiet audacity. Empire dismantled. Heart's dynasty erected. Ellie. Once face of billions. Now mirror to one soul's depth. Jordan. Rebel brush in hand. Painted there forever. In the farmhouse. Windows framing mountains eternal. They sat porch-bound. Hands threaded. Sunset gilding rings. Love. Secret no more. Had not destroyed but delivered. A beautiful becoming. Echoes lingering long after the last thread falls still.